Welcome to another edition of our Microsoft Outlook tutorial series on CarefreeIT TV. Today we'll be talking about the rules in Outlook. These can help you manage your Outlook by organizing your messages the way you want or notifying you of your messages based on the criteria that you specify. So first of all, let's talk about what exactly the rules are. Rules are the actions that Outlook automatically performs on your incoming and outgoing email. In the earlier series, we talked about moving the messages from the inbox to the custom created folders. For example, if a person sends me email, I can create a folder with that person's name and drag all the messages from my inbox from that person to that particular folder. Now, with the rules, the Outlook does this task for me automatically. All I do is I just define the conditions. Now I can create the rules from templates, from a message, or I can use my own conditions to create these rules. Now the question comes to why rules? Why do we need them? First of all, the first benefit that we can talk about here is we stay organized. For example, my inbox is not full of the messages anymore because all my messages that come to my inbox or that come to all the emails that come to me are getting organized by themselves. They're going to the respective folders and no more sitting in my inbox. Second, all my messages show up in the organized form in the respective folders, and the benefit to that is I can quickly search for any message because now I know which folder this message could be. Stay up to date. Every time I get any important message, I can set my Outlook to alert me. I can get alerts on my desktop. I can play a sound that notifies me of anything important came to the email. Create your rules from the scratch. I can customize the rules the way I want to. I can define my own conditions. I can define my own actions. And that's how I'm defining my rules. So I can customize them fully. Let's see how do we create rules. So to create a rule, we need to define one condition. We define the actions and we define the exceptions. This is optional. If we have any exceptions, then we can define them. Otherwise, with the condition and action, we can create one rule. We'll be seeing them in few minutes in the lab session. Now we can use a standard template to create rules as we discussed before, and we can create a rule from the message itself. Let's see how this works. We'll talk about some examples here. First example that we are taking is rule based on a sender and a subject. As an example, let's say I would like to get the messages from Gary with the word sales in the subject line, and they should automatically go to my Gary's sales folder instead of my inbox. Let's see how I create this rule. So in my inbox, I have few emails from Gary, sales, quarterly sales review. So we go to rules, we say create a rule. Now here I'm defining my condition. In this area I'm defining my actions, and saying okay means I have created a rule. It's just two-step process. My condition is 1. Any message from Gary. My second condition is, and the subject line contains the word sales, should go to Gary's sales folder. I have already created one folder called Gary's sales folder. If I say OK, Now this asks me for if I want to run this rule on my current folder, which is my inbox. So if I say yes to this, what this will do is it'll pick up all the messages with my condition fulfilled. Messages from Gary with the sales as a word in the subject line. All the message will be filtered out and will be moved to Gary's sales folder. Okay, let's see. And there we go. Okay, in my next example, let's see how we sort sent messages in my sent items folder. For example, let's say if you open your sent items folder, you might see hundreds of messages sitting in there. And if you want to search one particular message, it's very difficult to scroll through all those messages to find the one which you are trying to look for. Let's see. As an example, I want to automatically sort all the messages that are sent to Pete into my sent to Pete folder. So my rule says from my sent folder, anything that is sent to Pete should go to sent to Pete folder. So I go again to the rules, create a rule, and remember I'm selecting the message for which I'm trying to create a rule, like one message out of that series. Now I say send to Pete and move the item to the folder. In the sent folder, send to Pete. I say okay. It'll again ask me if I want to run this rule on the messages in the current folder, which is my sent items folder. I say yes. And now Pete's messages are not anymore showing in the sent items, but they will show up in sent to Pete. Same way I can let's define this one for Stephanie too. So under sent items, I create a folder. Let's say Stephanie's, or maybe sent to Stephanie. Okay, so I have a folder called sent to Stephanie. From the sent items, I pick up one of the Stephanie's messages, create a rule, send to Stephanie, move to the folder, and I pick up the folder called sent to Stephanie. Say okay. It'll again ask me for if I want to run this rule. Yes. And there we go, bingo. In my sent item folder, I just have one email and rest of the emails are sorted into the respective folders. Next, we are taking an example of how to create alerts for certain important messages. The desktop alerts, suppose I create a rule and I am not receiving any desktop notifications when I receive these messages. So how can I turn these notifications back on? So I'm using this rule to existing rule. Basically, I'm just trying to modify the rule so that it should send me the notifications. So Stephanie is sending me emails and I want to get a notification every time Stephanie sends me an email. So let's say in my inbox. Okay, before that let's create a rule quickly for Stephanie's messages. And I'm creating under inbox, so I have Getty sales, Stephanie's messages. In my inbox, I can pick up any message from Stephanie, rules, create a rule, anything that Stephanie sends should be going to Stephanie's messages. Just say okay. I say okay here. Run this rule. Just say okay. And Stephanie has one new message which I didn't read just because I had so many messages in my inbox. Okay, so now all my messages are showing up under Stephanie. And I have one rule called Stephanie's messages in my rules. Let's see how we manage rules and alerts. So I go to manage rules and alerts. I pick up, let's say, this one. So my rule says apply this rule after the message arrives. So whenever there is a message in the inbox from Stephanie, move it to Stephanie's messages folder. That's the rule I just created. So I want to edit this rule. All I do is just double click, or maybe you can pick up the change rule from here. Now my condition is if I get message from Stephanie, I'm not changing my condition here, but I'm adding another action to my rule, because desktop alert would be an action, or notification, getting notifications is something which I want from Outlook. Condition is something which I'm defining for the Outlook, like if this is the case, then do this. So basically now I want Outlook to send me alerts. So basically Outlook should do something which will be an action. So let's go to the, this is condition screen, let's go to the action screen. So I'm defining actions here. So my rule says move them to the specified folder, and my specified folder is Stephanie's messages, and I can say play a sound or display a desktop alert. I say next, next, and turn on this rule, and if I say this, it's gonna pop up all those messages on my desktop. So let's not do that. Turn on this rule, just say okay. So every time now onwards, if Stephanie sends me any message, and I consider that because Stephanie, whenever Stephanie sends me a message, it's an important message, I need to at least read it and then follow up with her on the contest. So I created this rule, and every time she will send me a message, it'll pop up on my screen the way we just saw in the PowerPoint. So my next example is messages with the high importance. Sometimes people send me messages that are marked with high importance. How can I filter these messages in order to view them? Let's see how. So people are sending me, like in my inbox there are multiple messages with high importance marked on them, and I want to filter them. I want to see all those messages that are stated as high importance messages. Okay, I go to my inbox folder back. I can filter my email with anything that is marked with high importance. So if I say important, it's going to search all the messages that I have. Those are marked as high importance, and there we go. So this icon shows the high important message that was marked as high important. So my filter was able to show all the messages in my inbox, so it shows up everything on this screen. I can go back home, I can clear this filter, and it's back to my inbox screen. Okay, so this is the message, and quickly I'll just show you how you create emails with marking mails as important messages. Let's say a new email. Okay, let's say tutorials at carefreeit.ca. Test message for message with Okay, and here we go. We just select it as high importance. We can select it as low importance. Generally we do high importance. Let's say send, and when it is received in my inbox, okay, it shows up this mark. That means this is a message with high importance. And now if I filter my emails with the important messages, it will pick up the messages from the inbox marked as high importance. Now going back to my examples, adding exceptions. So far we have talked about conditions and the actions. Sometimes we want to add some exceptions. For example, I would like messages from Stephanie to go to Stephanie's folder unless they are automatic replies. So if it is automatic reply, I don't care. But if it is a message from Stephanie, that means it's an important message from Stephanie. I need that to be in the folder. I want to save it. So in this example, I am defining my condition as any message from Stephanie. My action is should be moved to the Stephanie's message folder here. And my exception is unless it is an automatic reply. So automatic replies should stay in the inbox and all other messages should go to the Stephanie's message folder. So I don't have any messages right now in the Stephanie's folder. Let's create a rule. We go to create a rule and we go to advanced options. So from not tutorials, I've picked up tutorials, so that's why it's showing up as tutorials, but I want the messages from Stephanie. Okay, so this is my condition. All the messages from Stephanie should be moved to a specified folder, and my specified folder is Stephanie's messages. I say next. Here I define my exception, except if it is an automatic reply. So I check this one off. So my rule states whenever there is a message that comes to the inbox from Stephanie that needs to go to Stephanie's message folder, except for if it is an automatic reply. I say next. I just name this rule as her name and run this rule now on the messages that from inbox folder. We are in the inbox folder, so it's picking up the current folder. And I say finish. And one thing, if you have noticed, we created a rule from the template this time. It's not from the message, it's from the template. Let's say finish, and it's running the rule on my inbox. Okay, so in my Stephanie's folder, I have all the emails, but not the automatic reply, which is still showing up in the inbox. So either we read it and delete it, and up to you, like how you want to deal with the automatic replies. So the next example we are covering here is the messages flagged for action. Now Outlook has one nice feature about flagging the messages for an action at a later time. Let's say I want to follow up on some messages. When I flag a message, how can I check for the follow-ups that I have created? For example, I have some flagged messages from Andrew and Anita, and I want to filter those messages and see what is there for me in the follow-up. Let's see how we do it. So in my inbox, let's say if I have any messages, okay, let's say we add a follow-up. All I do is click this button and that adds a follow-up for today. And let's say this one. So Andrew and Anita's messages I have added as follow-ups. So how do I check my follow-ups for the day? So this particular flag means today, or I can change them to any of these. Let's say tomorrow, or let's say next week. And so if we go here, I can see my messages that are flagged for me. So I can filter my email based on the messages. Alternatively, I can simply go on the home screen. I just filter my messages based up on the flags, and it shows up the two messages that have the follow-up flags on them. Okay, in the next example, we are talking about creating a rule to play sounds for certain messages. For example, I want to hear a certain sound play when I receive a message from my manager, John. Okay, so how do I achieve this? I don't have any messages from John today, so let's say let's create it for Pete. First of all, we will create a rule. Anything that comes from Pete Seeger should play a sound and should go to a folder. Select folder. I haven't created any folder for Pete, so let's say in the inbox I create a folder called Pete or Pete's messages, and it should go to Pete. So let's say okay, and it again asks me for if I want to run the rule on the inbox. Yes, so that all my inbox messages get filtered. Okay, so I don't see any messages from Pete anymore here, and they go to Pete Seeger's folder. And now whenever I get message from Pete, it will directly go to my inbox. It will directly go to Pete's folder, and it will play a sound on my computer that there is a message from Pete. In the end, let's quickly review the different options that we have available in the standard templates. So let's have a quick look at the conditions that are available and the actions that are available to us in the standard template. Go back to Outlook, go to let's say manage rules, and maybe, okay, let's double click this one. I will, okay. So in the conditions screen, we have on this computer only. That means if we want to receive, like you can put in the conditions like if anything comes to only this computer's Outlook, or if it is from one particular person or a group that we just covered in our examples with specific words in the subject line. That also we had the first example on. Through a specified account. For example, suppose somebody sends you email from the Gmail account as well as your his office account. So you can sort the Gmail messages or the personal account messages and the Exchange account messages using this option. Sent only to me, that means you are the only person who is receiving this email. Where my name is in the to box, that means it is sent to you, but you might have some persons in the CC. Marked as importance, so if it is a high priority or high importance mark on it, we covered that one in our example 2. Marked as sensitivity, so what do we mean by sensitivity? That means it's a confidential email that is marked, and you can, these are the options that are available for the sensitivity. Marked flagged for action, for example, if you want if that needs to be like if users ask for a confirmation on the receiving or on the like a read through email. For example, sometimes we send the emails with an option that once the user reads it, it should send one confirmation to you. So those are the emails that are flagged for action. Next option is where my name is in the CC box. That means it's information only email. Where my name is in the to or CC, that means it's either sent to me or it's an information only for me. And where my name is not in the to box, it might be a blind CC or CC. Sent to people or public. For example, you are a part of a group and it's sent to whole group, so you can sort out those emails with specific words in the body. That means if you want to define if the content of the email contains certain words, it should go to one particular specified folder. You can do that too. Specific words in the subject or body, or the message header, which is like some more techy stuff. We can leave it for now. Specified words in the recipient's address. Same thing, like for example, if somebody sends you emails from personal accounts as well as office accounts, but the name on those accounts is same, so you can use this option, like whichever account he uses to send your messages, it should be filtered to his names folder. Same way with the specific words in the sender's address. Assigned to a category, and we will talk about the categories a little more in our upcoming series. Assigned to any category means that will be covered in that series as well. And which is an automatic reply, we covered that. Which has an attachment. For example, something comes to you as an attachment, you want to sort all those emails with attachment, you can do that too. With the size in specific range, you can define if the mail is less than 5K or more than 5 MBs or something like that, depending on your case, like whatever the conditions are for you. Received in a specific date span. So if anything comes before this, you can filter them into one folder. Anything comes after that date, you can filter them into another folder. Uses the form name form. For example, some emails come with the forms. You can filter them, selecting the properties, documents. Sender is in the specified address book. For example, you have multiple address books, for example, sales address book or marketing address book or your global address list. So you can specify which address book this person belongs to, and accordingly, if you have marketing folder, anything comes from the marketing address book should go to the marketing folder. Sales book from this sales group, it should go to the sales folder. So you can sort them on the basis of the address books. Which is a meeting, invitation, or update, you can sort you can put them in different folders. And the next is, let's say, okay, actions that are available. Play a sound, we talked about it. Move into a specified folder, which we did cover some examples on. Assign to a different category, we will be covering this in later series. Delete it. Sometimes you get junk messages or spam messages into your emails. We cover our clients for the spam using the spam filtering, but just in case on your personal accounts, for example, you don't have spam filtering, and if you're using Outlook for your personal emails also, you can use this option to delete all the messages that come as spam. So all you do is you can just specify the criteria to filter and action as deleted, so it will just go into your deleted items. And if you don't want your email to be deleted, you can move that into the permanently deleted, delete it, so that won't go to your delete items, but it will completely remove it from the Outlook. Move a copy to the specified folder. For example, you are getting emails in the inbox and you want to keep one copy in the inbox, other copy in that person's folder. You can choose this option that will not move the file, but it will copy the file from the inbox to that person's folder too. Forward it to the people or group. This is the option that we can use at the time when you are receiving some email based on some topics or maybe webinars or as the case may be, and you want this to be forwarded to whole of the group. So you can set it, if something comes from that company, it should be spreaded to whole of the group so that everybody is aware of what is happening. So you can use this option in those cases. Forward it to people or group as an attachment, or this is like just a forward that we do, and this one goes as an attachment. from your account, redirect it to the people or public. Now this will not go into your inbox, instead it will go to the people who are specified in this criteria. And this option we can use when we are like we send out of office replies, so that in the office replies most of the times we specify that we are not available, and please send your if it is urgent, please send your emails to this address. And sometimes people might not receive the automatic replies based on their Outlook rules, or they may not read it. So the if that needs immediate attention, it's a good idea to send or redirect at that point of time those emails to the persons who are responsible to handle that task for you when you are on vacation or when you have out of office reply turned on. Have the server reply, it's just like an automatic reply from the server side. Reply using specific template, it's a more advanced option and out of the scope of this tutorial. Flag message for the follow-up time, and this is interesting. When you receive some messages from people that you it's not very that it's not a priority email, but it's an information, what you can do is you can flag them for a later time, and you can specify if you want to follow up for today, tomorrow, or whenever. You can specify the dates, the days. Clear the message flag. If something comes as a flagged message, this automatically clears the message flag on them. And same with the message categories. Sometimes if you know that it's a message from your boss and it needs importance, you can put those emails as marked as importance, even if it is not, but the Outlook does that for you. Print it, it will directly go to the printer, whatever is the default printer on your machine. Start the application is something like running some programs or running some scripts on those whenever the email comes in. So mark it as read. For example, you just want that email be there in your Outlook folder, but you don't there is no need to have some action on them defined. Stop processing more rules. So if there are multiple rules that you think that may be clashing, and this is the high priority one, so you can mark this as stop processing more rules. That means if there are multiple rules defined on this criteria, then pick up this criteria on the priority than others. Perform a custom action. Define a specific message in the new item alert window. So it will whenever like you can define your own custom messages in this case, and you can just send this like there is an email from Stephanie, or there's a meeting alert coming up, and something like that. Display a desktop alert, we covered that in our example. So that is something which is readily available to you in your templates, the predefined templates. We hope you enjoyed our this week's tutorial on rules and how to use these rules to manage and organize your Outlook. If you need any help with creating those rules or using these rules, don't hesitate to contact us. We can be reached at info@carefreeit.ca. Thank you for watching our tutorial. Next week, we will be continuing our Outlook How-To series with a tutorial on out-of-office replies and managing your signatures. Thank you.